if you had gone back to 16-year-old me and told me that in my 30s and 40s I'd be working with hundreds of nude women. We talk a lot about theater because that represents a big part of our lives as separate people and as together people.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are things that I used to have to remind myself to mind in terms of topics that were easy for me to freely discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were certain things about my career that would have blown my mind if you could go back in time and tell 16-year-old me what I'd be doing in my 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Blown my mind. Would have blown my mind. And I often forget how unusual some of my experiences have been.
I do too. Yeah. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I was inspired about this topic because I reconnected with my chiropractor from when I was a budding ballerina, 13 years old. And I reconnected with him. I sent him a bunch of my recent dance videos, so that included burlesque and some of my showgirl videos. And I said, well, he asked to see videos, and I said, are you sure? I'm wearing pasties in one of them. And he said, Athena, I'm in the theater too. I grew up in the theater. I'm desensitized. And I said, yeah, but you still have known me since I was 13 years old. So
yeah.
He reminded me that, people, there's some bit of desensitization when it comes to
It's
theater.
hard to imagine being desensitized to some things.
Yeah.
I grew up in a fairly conservative suburban household. And in retrospect, like when I talk about blowing my mind, it would have blown my mind. This is Athena, my partner, who is a former Las Vegas showgirl. My name is Phelyx. I am a mentalist magician. I travel around the country doing that stuff still. And this is a podcast to celebrate our interests in inspiring you to continue your adventure in this big thing when we call one big caper, and it's just life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you want to get into this? Because desensitization is our topic. That's our prompt for this one.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense, and we certainly have plenty to say about it.
Okay, yeah, you were talking about blowing your mind at 16. Same thing for me. When I was 16, I wanted to be a prima ballerina. Okay, I wanted to be the top dancer in a big company like the Bolshoi Ballet or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my goal. If
you got close. You got real close, right?
I mean, I was one of the stars, yes.
Yeah.
But if you would have told me in 3 years that I would be a topless dancer in the biggest showgirl production in Las Vegas, I would have laughed in your face and called you a liar. So yeah, there was, I think it's a progression of desensitization, as you go through theater. You do learn to, be more respectful and considerate of people in their space. But, one of the things, this is kind of a consideration is personal space. I think in theater, we're a little bit more, we're in closer quarters and living in dressing
especially
rooms.
cheap theater, where
yes,
the dressing
everyone
room
is literally
is a beer
on
cooler.
Top of us. How many shows did I do that in? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of learn to do your best in the environment you're given to do your show, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think our personal space bubble is a little bit tighter in theater. Probably what it is to people that live in large cities, New York and, the big metropolis is in the world where people are literally like bumping into each other walking down the street.
Yeah.
And that's just normal. For me, I would be real freaked out if that happened to me on the street.
I've had dressing rooms that are bigger than my homes and those feel very strange and foreign. It's much more familiar and comfortable to me to have the dressing room in a beer cooler or whatever. How many times have I done that? Holy moly.
Not me. No.
Yeah.
Not
so
for me.
Personal space, that makes a
Yeah.
great deal of sense.
Yeah, and then we talked about, being considerate of other people's personal space in the last episode. If you want to check that out, we're talking about being considerate of others in their space and just, do you want to talk about the next one? That's like
it's the biggest
big
one.
It's
I
the
think
biggest one,
it's the big one, and it's the shocking one, and the one that I think people who are not in showbiz love to hear about the most. And that is, yes, I in fact for 13 years had seen every one of my friends completely nude at one point or another. So nudity was something that I did not predict I would be desensitized to. But I not only became perfectly desensitized, it probably helped us in a recent experience.
Oh, yeah. So let's go back a little bit about seeing all of your friends in the nude. It wasn't for an orgy. It wasn't.
Nope,
it was
getting
just
ready for work.
Getting ready for work. It wasn't like he was part of sexual experiences with these people.
No, the fantasies that a lot of audience members have about what goes on backstage could not be farther from the truth.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's exactly like the water cooler, except everyone's naked.
Kind of. Yeah.
And so that it did help us. We took a little staycation recently, and we have a kind of a little goal to go to all the hot springs, at least in Colorado, maybe some in New Mexico and Vegas, or not Vegas, Nevada, sorry. But I didn't know this when I made the reservation, that it was a clothing optional hot springs.
There are several in Colorado, and the one that we went to was a clothing optional hot springs.
Yeah. Except one day a week. Tuesday of all days.
They have
and in my experience, people that are not performers and that identify as naturalists or naturists. Yeah. They're not as their bodies are not as well kept as some of the dancer friends that I've been with. So it was hard for me to see strangers naked. But I think because of our desensitization to nudity, it actually wasn't an uncomfortable experience.
It wasn't uncomfortable, it wasn't shocking, it wasn't horrifying, it was just...
I mean, some of it was horrifying. What it is.
It was clear to tell which human beings were true naturalists and which were exhibitionists. There's a difference.
Oh, yeah.
There's a difference, and you can tell. Like, if you're watching this, we know which one you are.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
It was definitely an experience, and I'm curious for other people who aren't theater people how that, like, if they would have just like packed up and left. Like, I wonder if they would have been like, heck no, I'm out of here.
Well, they give you plenty of warnings before you go in.
Yeah, I mean, there's signs everywhere, and for some reason I didn't see it on the booking site, but like it didn't bother me enough to be like, oh, we're not going there, So I mean, we all have the body parts, and everyone's are a little different, and I don't know. I just maybe it's a perk to being a performer to be desensitized.
It can be helpful, yeah. I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I could argue against that too.
Really?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not. We'd have to do that off the record, probably.
Off the record. Oh. Yeah. All right. One big caper after dark.
There is not a lot of evidence of my my time in burlesque. 13 years.
Okay.
Thousands of shows.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of evidence out there because one thing that I'm aware of is that the buyers, I work in a lot of corporate markets, universities and that kind of thing, a lot of those people might be concerned about my associations with burlesque and thereby my ability to be appropriate with their audiences, right?
Right.
And my solution to that was pretty simple, and that is that even in burlesque, when I was performing as a variety act in burlesque, I worked clean.
Mm-hmm.
and that's pretty rare
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
have a clean act in a burlesque show.
Yeah, you were the contrast kind of. I mean, you're
I guess
wearing
so.
a 3-piece suit, the
Right.
most dressed person on the stage.
I maybe removed my jacket, and that's about it.
Yeah.
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 So, but you still had your vest, yeah, all the things. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's okay. I guess that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
For what you do now.
Yeah, I think that there is an awareness of the possibility of desensitization, and that causes people in the corporate world to have a little concerns about hiring a burlesque entertainer, because they'd be afraid that I would be desensitized and say something inappropriate or off color or whatever.
Yeah. That's fascinating. I don't think I've ever heard you cuss on stage.
I have done some.
Maybe once.
Yeah, I've dropped a colorful word a time or two to reel in my audience, or to really like bring people. I'm doing old punk shows, and I'm the variety actor, the opener for old punk shows, and as soon as I dropped an F-bomb or something on stage, I had them, because by appearance alone, they did not expect it. So we have, when it comes to desensitized people, we have one of each in our home of the young people. One person who uses colorful language, and another one who refuses to use colorful language.
Yeah.
We don't mind as parents and people who are raising younger people. I see the value in all language. I respect the young person who does not use colorful language, and one thing that is extra respectable about that is that someday she's going to.
She did.
And well, that was kind of an accident, so she claims. But when she uses specific words, anybody who knows her is going to be like,
yeah,
she means it. Like,
yeah.
Whoa,
like if she's mad, or if she's expressing.
Boy, the power of those words. Those words will be so much more powerful for her than anyone else in the house.
Right. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice to know that you have a tool in your back pocket that would instantly have impact?
Well, so what I have to say about that is that she's a Scorpio, and Scorpios are obsessed with power. So
she likes the power.
Probably already understands the power of colorful language in moderation, or not at all until it's really necessary. That's all, just like I always tie kind of the psychology of this household in with energy and astrology and all those things. So that's fascinating that you're saying she has it's a tool in her back pocket. She may or may not be aware.
I don't know. I think she's aware.
Pretty smart. Yeah, maybe she is aware. I think that I think a lot of people think like Scorpios are manipulative, dangerous people, but that's the dark side. And you just got to make sure they don't go to the dark side. That's all, But no, it's funny that you're talking about this, because the last thing we were going to talk about was self-expression.
Yeah, I think it bleeds into that nicely. So another thing, and you already brought up the way I dress on stage.
Yeah.
Our wardrobes are expressive.
Right.
And possibly a little more. I don't want to say colorful, but I mean that in a grander scheme.
Yeah.
Than an average person, especially in this market where we live. People don't dress like us.
Oh, for sure. I wear a lot of color, and I love color. I think that people who wear more color, are more happier and more expressive kind of people, and I think a lot of them are performers. I mean, even the goth performers are quite expressive, even though they only wear one color. I think it's another way for us to express ourselves without being on stage. It's another kind of stage.
We are also more comfortable wearing things that are just a little bit exaggerated.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast last week, and they were talking about things not to do in a Venus retrograde, which we're in right now. And one of the things she said is, she's like, you're probably not gonna You know, don't buy a fuchsia caftan because at the end of the retrograde, you're not going to like it. And I'm like,
That sounds great.
now I have to make one because I probably can't just buy one. And fuchsia just happens to be my color. So like I have a brand color and that is the color I wear. And sometimes it's yellow, sometimes it's orange. But I just thought that was the funniest thing because, you know, I totally would have, like if I wore caftans, then I would buy a fuchsia one. Even before she said that. But yeah, I think that because we're constantly wearing costumes as a performer in the theater, we're desensitized to a baseline of expression, you know, trying to shop for the oldest, she's in DECA and she has to have a business attire outfit and trying to shop for that. And
it's not her taste.
It's not her taste. She's very cottagecore meets Granny Smith.
We've talked about this before, and one of the things that I brought up on that episode was I hear all the time, I wish I could pull that off, referring to whatever I'm wearing at that time.
Linking here.
Yeah.
How people perceive Phelyx.
She's not comfortable in certain outfits. Like it's so not her. She's less
Right.
comfortable.
Well, we did find a blazer that is her style. It's kind of a tweed. I wouldn't call it cottagecore because they don't wear suits, right? But I dropped her off at one of the events and everyone's wearing black and gray and blue and
because
white.
Yeah.
It's so like
Taste
cold
is
and
yeah.
Yeah, maybe that part of the self-expression is like, you know, performers have more heart, you know, because they're constantly giving from their heart chakra. We're desensitized to this like societal norms, like that baseline of like what's appropriate to wear. You always see what did so-and-so wear the red carpet with their, you know, their neckline down to their navel and stuff. And you wouldn't wear that to a brunch or something. Well, I hope you wouldn't, unless that was your walk of shame costume. Oh, here's a juicy bit. I didn't think I'd ever talk about this one on here, but I was at the neighborhood warehouse store, and I was in a little romper that is loose fitting. I wasn't wearing a bra. It was a strapless, so there's no point in wearing a bra. And I'm walking, I'm looking for the honey. And I was like, I was looking for syrup. Anyway, I was looking for the thing, and all I hear, I wasn't really paying attention to people around me. I know that there was a couple coming this way, and all I hear was, close your mouth while you do that. And I was like, what? Why is she so mean to him? Or mean to whoever she's talking to? And I look back, and it's an older man and his older wife, and it turns out their daughter, who's about my age, probably mid-40s, laughing because her dad just got caught ogling me, and I haven't been ogled in a long time, but apparently my parts were poking out and causing a scene. And I'm so desensitized to that it just didn't occur to me that would be something that would get someone in trouble, you know, with their wife. So did I say that okay?
I think you're okay.
You know, in Fort Collins, you can walk around topless as a female.
Lawfully, but
Lawfully.
people don't.
They don't.
No.
Because it's still taboo.
Right.
But I sometimes I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if I just walked down the street in my showgirl costume? No? I don't know. I wonder if the burlesquers go all out up there.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it. Yeah. We're desensitized, and it's, I don't think it's an uncomfortable life, but it's something, you know, that we have to sometimes be aware of, and especially at school functions. Yeah.
If you had gone back to 16-year-old me and told me that in my 30s and 40s I'd be working with hundreds of nude women. I got advice from a very famous sword swallower
Okay.
who was a friend, Johnny Fox. He's no longer with us, but he essentially said, if you want to know that you're good, compete for the audience's attention against nude women. And I wasn't really sure how that would ever happen, and I only remember him telling me that when I was 16, 17 years old, because I ended up in front of an audience against a line of nude women.
Yep.
Fascinating.
That's fascinating. I think we kind of encompass the desensitization. If you have any observations as an outsider about what things that we might be desensitized to, because it's kind of hard to see the forest through the trees. Sometimes it's hard for us to come up with this stuff.
But sometimes we are unaware of the extent to which we have become desensitized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not a big deal.
We hope to inspire you at least to take an adventure with your wardrobe in the next few days. Wear something a little
fuchsia. Wear a fuchsia caftan.
As always, reach us any old time at hello@onebigcaper.com.